Hi, welcome back to the latest Manchester United news. So, we're going to talk about what happened in Malaysia on the Asian Tour, what Ruben and Omar Barada have to say about the performance and the future. Then we'll talk about whether Liam Delap is coming to Manchester United or is he leaning elsewhere. And finally, Jadon Sancho. Is there a possibility that Jadon returns or maybe he's going elsewhere? First one is the match which was played in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia against the ASEAN 11. It was a good game. I felt it was a great game that Manchester United had control. It's just that they couldn't finish in the final box, and as a result, they lost 1-0. And there were a lot of questions for Ruben, and this is what he had to say. So he said, "We should perform better. We were slow, and we still don't have enough to win every exercise in training, every game. But the important thing is that we didn't have any injuries. Some players were at risk, but we wanted to respect all the fans and put all the players in the game. We should have won this kind of games, but we move forward." I mean, you could see it in the post game press conference that he was disappointed with the performance and that he wanted some finishing, and there were some questions from the journalists about, especially about finishing and about Rasmus and what can be done about Rasmus, and whether Ruben has to work with him and get him up to speed. And he was very vague about Rasmus. He said, "Yeah, people go on vacation and they come back and they'll get better, but we are making the necessary changes." And kind of hinting that, yeah, this might be the last go around for Rasmus, and that his replacements are being lined up. So he says sometimes you cannot overthink that situation. Sometimes as you change, you go to holidays, you arrive in the first day and you start a new season. Even the environment in the training ground can help all these players with different confidence. So that is our expectation. If you look at the data, we have improved in the last games. We have a lack of goals. We all try to assess that, and we'll be prepared for the first game in the Premier League. So he's been very vague, especially about the strikers and the number 10 positions on what he can do to improve. I think he's solely relying on the market to improve those positions, and I don't think he has any faith on returning production, because I don't think he wants to start with Rasmus up top, and I don't think he wants Garnacho to be back in the team. So I think those two players will play the next game, and then probably they'll be looking for solutions for them to head out elsewhere. There was there was one important question which one of the journalists asked, which was especially which a lot of fans have, is, "Hey Ruben, you are very stubborn. You said that I'm not going to change in your first press conference, and that you're going to play the way you play. But what happens when your principles don't work? Are you going to change next year, or is it possible that we might see something different to get results?" And this is what he said. He said, "My biggest concern is that in every game we need to have the feeling to win every game, every exercise. That is something that we have to push for the players. The way I play is the same as that in other coaches. So you have an idea, you stick with your idea. I'm just one more coach that I've reached this level because I believe in certain things. So we'll see. Of course, we need to improve the results, but I'm really confident." So he's going to die on that sword. So he's going to play the way he knows how to play, and he's very confident in that his system works. So I don't expect much changes from the 3-4-3, or the way he attacks and the way he defends. So it just, I feel it'll be more of the same thing. He truly believes that it's a personnel issue, and that addressing the personnel is more important than making any other changes on the field. So hopefully that works, because you can see here in the final question of of his press conference, he was asked like, "Are you okay with losing? Do you think the losing affects you like it affects the fans?" And he says, "Of course, losing, we cannot have that feeling. Let's focus on the important thing for me. We need to have that belief, that hunger to win every game. That is important. We don't have it. We have to win it. Second thing, I'm worried about the injuries." And then they was also asked about the booing. There was some booing by the Malaysian fans. I think it was during the game or after the game. I'm not sure, because I don't think you could hear it on TV, but I know for a fact that Maguire was cheered and Onana was cheered. So that's surprising. The difference in opinion between those two players in Asia compared to in the UK. And this is what Ruben said about the booing. On the booing, I always feel guilty. I said that in the last game, no matter what. And I'm just looking forward towards the first game of the next season. So he was just he didn't want to take this postseason game too seriously, because he knows that even if they, and he mentioned this, that even if they did win 5-0, you as the journalist would have just dismissed the performance and said that oh, that doesn't say anything. So I don't think he's taking this 1-0 loss that seriously. He's more concerned about his players, and that whether they're giving it their all, and whether they treat every game as important as he does, because that's what he's mentioning. He mentioned in many of his answers that he wants the players to feel that every game you go into should be an opportunity to win that game, and not just play. And he wants to see that in the games, and as well as in training. During the game, they were also able to speak to Omar Barada. He was on the pitch. I think it was in halftime where they interviewed him, and he had a lot to say. And how the main thing he said, that he wants the past to be the past, that they are moving forward, and they're looking forward to working with Ruben and Jason Wilcox and the team to get the recruitment going, and they are fully behind Ruben and in the next phase of his process. I don't think he said phase, but that was the essence of it. So this is what he specifically said. He said, "I can't talk about specifics, but we have been planning for many months now. We were ready for all the different scenarios, so now we know what we need to do. We have a very clear idea where we need to invest on the squad to improve. So Jason, his team, Ruben have been in talks, as I've said, for many months. Now is the question of executing that plan in a way that is prudent and at the same time with ambition." So basically, he makes it clear that they're going to do their work in the transfer window. I don't think this is one of those transfer windows where you're going to have players coming in at the end and after pre-season and just before the season starts, or maybe after 2 weeks after the season starts. So they are trying to get their business done early. And the main thing was they want to be prudent. Obviously, you have to, because you have no European football and you're severely lacking in funds. But they also want to show ambition. I think by that he's indicating that they have some big names that they are going after. So obviously we know about Matthias Cunha, and they're not going to talk about it until it's signed, sealed, and delivered. But what about the other names like Mbuemo, who they're looking at from Brentford, and it was mentioned that his is going to be a 50 million transfer fee, £50 million transfer fee. Then you're also looking at strikers, and I'm going to discuss the main target at striker, mostly because of availability. But if you don't get him, then you have to spend a lot more to get another striker who's going to be a much more expensive, because their contract situations will not be the easiest for from a Man United perspective. So I mean, this is this is all we can do is just wait and see, because the next game is on Friday, I think, against the Hong Kong 11. But the 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 transfer window opens on June 1st and closes on June 10th. I'm not exactly sure why they're doing that, and then it would reopens on June 16th. I know it's because of the Club World Cup, but what's the delay about? Um, what is that 6-day window where they close it? I don't know. I need to look up that some more. But I mean, if they're going to do as they say, then hopefully we get a lot of signings through, especially before the preseason in the US starts, where again you're going to play against Premier League teams, so you really want to have your team, at least your starting 11 that you plan to roll out throughout the season in the US, so that you can get that game time, you can get that practice in, and you can see where you stand. Because I mean, you there was a recent article which was on how much Man United made, and they were like on 12th or 13th in the list among all the Premier League teams. And the longer you stay in that region of the table, the bigger the hole you are stuck in. So I mean, you have to spend your way out of this. There is no other way. I mean, you can go cheap, like some release clauses are there which are cheap, like Liam Delap and then Ryan Cherky, all in the 20s or 30s. But if you want to win games, and you have to get into Europe, because that will give you the windfall in funds. So I mean, if the plan is to keep going cheap, there's no way you can end up in a decent position at the end of the season. And the longer you are in the second half of of the table, I mean, the worse your chances of ever getting out is, because you're already at a loss, you're already cutting positions at the club. It's just gonna get a whole lot worse. But anyway, that was it. I felt overall the game was a good game. I thought we played well. I liked when the youngsters came in. Sure, some of the youngsters in the back were caught out by some of the more experienced ASEAN players, but I'm not looking into that too much, because when Aiden Heaven, Harry Maguire were at the back, along with Casemiro up front, in front of them, they played pretty well. They had possession. It's just that when they get into the front third, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. All the shots were from outside. I mean, Rasmus was able to collect the ball a few times, but his touch has gotten worse. So I don't know how do you fix that? I I'm just curious, how is he like is he unfit? I mean, I know he's a big boy, but is he too big that he needs to lose a lot of weight? His touches are so bad that he was trying to dribble it out, which is not his strong suit, and he kept losing the ball. And even I think he had one shot on target, and that was because of what his specialty is, which is it was on a counter attack from Man United's own half, and still he got somehow pushed towards his right foot, and it was a weak shot which went straight into the keeper's hand. So he didn't even have any great shots. The best shot of the game was, I think, when Menu had a shot on goal, and it was a great save from the keeper. And that might be a sign of where Menu's long-term position is in the 10. But hey, it looks like we're going for 2 10s, so I don't know where. So you have Ahmad left, you have Xerxes left, and then you have Kobe Menu. So what, you have 5 10s? I don't know. Maybe Ahmad might go back to the midfield position, but you have to get a midfielder. And this was according to the United Muppeteers that they are actually looking at five spots: one striker, two tens, one midfielder, and one goalkeeper. So I don't know. It's this puzzle will only make sense once it's put together. So hopefully, but I just want the signings to be done early, just so that he gets his preseason, because we have to hit the ground running, and because he knows that his job is in jeopardy, and that there is no waiting, because you can see by the tenor of the interview that this a lot of people are losing patience, but I still believe in him. I think he has a good chance of improving a lot. And so the next main recruiting news, which was the Liam Delap. So as I mentioned in a previous video, that four clubs were interested in him. So it was Man United, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Everton. But everybody is trying to sell him on their project, but it looks like he's focusing on Manchester United and Chelsea mostly, and they seem to be the front runners. So this is what Fabrizio has said, that Chelsea and Manchester United keep insisting on Liam Delap. Delap is a priority for Chelsea. Them being able to offer European football is crucial, as Manchester United cannot. I mean, there's nothing to be said. Chelsea won trophy, a European trophy as well. I don't know if that all this is enough to sway him, but according to a lot of people, that Liam Delap wants guaranteed playing time, and where else? I mean, at Manchester United, he can get that, because he would be the sole striker unless they go and get another striker after them. So that's one thing, but there is no European football. This is what Samuel Luckhurst had to say, that it is understood that United and Chelsea are the two likeliest destinations for the striker, who wants his future resolved before he heads to Slovenia for the European Under-21 Championship, which begins on June 11th. So Chelsea, who are also looking at forwards Benjamin Sesko and Hugo Ekitike, are likely to be the preferred option, as Delap wants to play in Europe. I mean, I told you, this is all Manchester United can do this summer, is sell its past, and how it's still a big club, and that it went to a European final, and that it's capable of winning trophies. But that's all it can do. It can't sell Europe, and a lot of these players like Liam Delap, Victor Gyökeres, Osimhen, they all want to play in Europe, and without that, it's going to be hard. I'm just curious on who they end up with, and whether they have to settle for a lower caliber player than what they initially planned for. But then that's what Berardi said, that they had planned for every scenario, and that they are willing to be ambitious as well as prudent. So let's see. And then finally, Jadon Sancho. So I'd mentioned earlier that I think it was in the pre-match press conference, Enzo Maresca had mentioned that in the next 24 or 48 hours we'll talk about his future, but no decision has been made on Jadon or any other player. So, and Jadon didn't even start in the Conference League final. He was brought on as a substitute in the 60th minute. I think they were down 1-0 or 1-1 at the time, but anyway, they ended up winning 4-1, and Jadon scored a great goal, curler into the top right corner. I'm happy. I'm glad he scored. That's brought up the sentiment among all Chelsea fans that we should keep him, and I hope they do keep him, because that's 25 million pounds. He doesn't want to play for Man United. He's already mouthed off to essentially Man United fans on social media, claiming he wants his freedom, and I just hope they get it done. I just hope Chelsea uses him or backup. I don't care. Just get it done, because this is what Fabrizio had also mentioned, that at the moment Jadon Sancho does not have any sort of guarantee to stay at Chelsea. Sancho returning to Man United is a concrete possibility. Even if he returns to United, the expectation is for him to find another solution and leave, and that's the biggest thing. So you you want this Chelsea deal to go through, because if he comes back, it's the onus is on Manchester United now to find another buyer. And the worst thing is, if you are going and looking for other buyers, you might end up finding a buyer outside the Premier League, and they don't have deep pockets like in the Premier League. So you might end up selling him for far lesser money than you would have gotten from Chelsea. So that's why every Man United fan should have his fingers crossed that hopefully this deal goes through, and they're not stuck with another player. Because guess what, Anthony is probably coming back. He didn't have such a great a Conference League final, and there's already some Spanish journalists who have said that he was a no-show, and how did he play so well throughout the season, and he didn't show up in the final. But there was a likelihood that he would always come back, and Man United would have to find a better team, because I don't think Real Betis would pay 35 million pounds. So who knows, let's see. But I don't know if you heard his pre-match interview, where he was crying and he was talking about how he couldn't eat while at Man United. I don't know what is happening with these players and how they're feeling when they're playing for Manchester United, and supposedly it's really torturous, and they're glad to get out. So now when he comes back, what is Ruben going to do? I mean, just integrate him into the squad and start using him again? Or is it like, no, you can't, after what you said, I mean, how can I put you back in the team? So again, we have to find another buyer for him. So that's the thing. We have to hope that these clubs where these players have been loaned, that they exercise the option and get them off our hands, because we need that money for all these other incomings. And that's the thing. I think they are going to wait for sales, and a lot of other clubs, especially all the other big six clubs, are in Europe, in the Champions League, and Newcastle, and they are the main competitors for the players that you are trying to get in. So who knows? I think there more clarity will start occurring, because Liam Delap has to make his decision in the next week. I think, as I mentioned, he wants to do it before the under-21 Euros. So we should know more. Hopefully good news after the next postseason game against the Hong Kong 11.